Hello and good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Network of Quality Teaching and Learning, we welcome you all to our EdTech Lounge session. For those of you who are attending our EdTech Lounge for the first time, EdTech Lounge is a community of practice that we've been running since April 1st, 2020. Each week we have a presenter, and the presenter talks about their experiences, challenges, and successes of online teaching and learning, and shares it with the audience. And then after 15 minutes, we open up the floor for Q&A. We would request if you've got any questions and queries, do put them in the chat. We'll be monitoring the chat throughout. We would request you to keep your microphones and your cameras turned off during the session. With this, I would like to now introduce our presenter, Shelina Bhamani. Dr. Shelina Bhamani holds a PhD in education with a specialization in early childhood development and program monitoring. Currently, she is associated with the Aga Khan University in capacity of assistant professor, research and lead parenting education program. She has worked in various national and international organizations and has a range of publications to her account. With this brief introduction, I would like to invite Dr. Shelina Bhamani to our session today. So over to you, Dr. Shelina.
Thank you so much, Abir. I'll just share my screen so that we could get started. Thank you so much for the introduction. Before we could get started, I would like to present my disclaimer. There is no financial or personal gain, and there is no conflict of interest whatsoever. The pictures and symbols and objects and graphics that are taken in this presentation are all from open sources and hence can be adapted to any settings. Through this presentation, I'm just sharing my personal journey and reflection. So today's presentation will be all about me taking you to my journey through a storytelling mode. So let's begin. I'd like to request participants to please write 1 in the chat log if you can see and hear the PPT that I've showed well. Great, thank you. Before we take a formal start to this presentation, I would like you all to closely look at this picture and observe what are the objects and things or characters you see in this picture. I would also like to invite you to write it in the chat log. So I'll probably count till 10, and then I would encourage all of you to write down whatever you see in this picture in the chat log. So on the count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and stop. Yes, I could see a lot of responses like lion, men, women, elephant, fish, swan, snake. Great going. So everybody, this is very important. We need to view the world from our lenses, and all of our lenses are different. Viewing the world through different lenses provides significant benefits. A different outlook helps us to look beyond our own experience and be aware of how our experiences affect what we see, hear, think, and believe. Our personal lens to see things can reframe and transform this function into appropriate behavior and habits. And it's a lifelong journey of learning, adapting, and also seeing things from our own perspective and building our perspective. So let's see how it all began for me. I'm a social media advocate. I love advocating for early childhood development, for parenting education, teacher education, education in inequities, community development using different social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and you name it, like Instagram. So it all started, my journey into social media advocacy started with my Facebook group that I had launched like 2 years back on early childhood matters. As you can see from the name, my passion goes with early childhood development. So I was not very active with this group and just was adding and sharing a few things, sharing a few resources. I started my journey with, say, about 50 people, and then until last year it was like 300-400 people in my group. So this was all about it, and then I was much involved into taking workshops, taking different in-person sessions, speaking into different conferences, and using every platform for social media advocacy for awareness towards education and inequities. Since my forte is towards early childhood development, I've had like a massive public advocacy with my open lectures, having lots of stakeholders involved in my, sessions, like some people from the policymaker, parents to community, teachers, and sometimes children as well. Since I deal with the broader spectrum of first 1,000 days, there were many stakeholders I used to come across during my sessions, which would vary from micro level to meso to macro level. And this is what was my audience reach. And it was all happening very conveniently pre-COVID. And there came a nutshell. A shell which has covered us and locked us down. COVID-19, yes. So in late Feb and early March, lockdown started happening. We just saw that there was a high surge of COVID all around us. And we were all asked to be inside our homes, stay home safe, not to go out, not to interact in person with people, which has really kind of saddened me because I was more into, running my campaign, advocating for the cause. And I thought, oh my God, now what? How am I going to take the workshops? How am I going to take my educational sessions for everybody? How am I going to communicate with the people the importance of first 1,000 days and years of life? I was just wondering, thinking, feeling sad. But then let's see what happened. Well, then March second week, as schools closed down, we all came up with alternative options of Google Classroom, which was used to create classrooms, share assignments, Twitter, via which in 40 characters you can just explain how you feel, you can advocate for different causes. Came Zoom, my personal favorites, StreamYard for Facebook Live, Teams for all sorts of meetings, and Edmode. So I had a lot of variety to then think, and I thought that why not use a few and let's start off with whatever I was doing in person. So I started using different modes, different modalities, different tools of social media advocacy and teaching and learning specifically, and started exploring different options. And I already had account in a lot of these things. So I started considering very seriously how I could do a lot of live streaming sessions. And that is how I started taking 2 to 3 sessions every week for different range of audience, giving different demonstration of how different low-cost resource materials are created, giving some demonstration on how good parenting could look like, giving some workshops and webinars on what is the role of school leaders, teachers, policymaker, and then definitely using all of this to support my teaching and uptake. And so my personal favorite became Facebook Live through StreamYard and Zoom. So I used to conduct all my official sessions using Zoom platform. And I got really satisfied actually because I was using Zoom before already for meetings. But this time I thought maybe share screen was a good option, annotation was a good option of chatting was good so I could still be interacting with the participants. But I started thinking that, okay, I'm using Zoom, but how do I engage my learners? How do I engage my participants? Because I was a kind of facilitator who would love doing warm-ups, who would love doing some, simple energizers, icebreakers. So I started thinking, what are those things I need to consider? Because then the other person will be in front of screen, I am in also front of screen. So what are the ways I could engage my audience and, have my wow moments where I feel, wow, it was such a good training. So I did a good 2 weeks homework, studied some YouTube videos, studied some handouts as how these online teaching and learning tools can be used. I started also thinking that okay, now since I won't have enough time to conduct pre and post test analysis, but it's a very good time that I could also build on my research data repository. So I really got pretty much attached to Google Sheets. So I designed those pre-training survey forms and always use Google Sheets and the Google survey forms to get participants registered, talk about how they feel, what are their expectations. And I found these sheets to be very helpful in communicating with the participants before I was taking the session. So just as to understand my audience better, because at the end of the day I wasn't actually aware of who my audience would be, because it is going to be an open public platform, massive media advocacy for education and childhood development. And hence I always used to have this one form on the Google Drive, and then I would just ask different information regarding the participants. What are their expectations? How do they feel about COVID? So I'll give you one very concrete example that the other day I was taking one session on mental health of teachers. So I got a bit of their demographic data and what are the problems they are undergoing, what are the kind of issues that they wanted me to address in my session, what are the strategies that they are already applying, what are the tools that they already have. So this really gave me a very good idea of how my audience is, who my audience is, what do they want from me. So that really came very handy. Then I also started mitigating on my risk, mapping my limitations. I thought maybe connection could be an issue, there could be disturbance at home, there'll be a lot of background noises. And the strategy that I used was I started audio recording, pre-recording my content, like you're hearing one right now, which really helped me to be very organized in delivering the kind of content that I wanted my participants to have a grip on. And also it helped me mitigate all the issues of connection and disturbance at home and the noise, pitch stuff, which really had given a very good smooth flow to my presentation. And since I have always been an early childhood person, so my voice pitch, the way I connect to different people, the way I present my content verbally was something which appeared to be very natural to participants. And I started getting a lot of good comments that, oh wow, your presentation is very smooth. We're not having any disturbance. So I really thought, and there was some feedback also like, we just thought that we don't see your face, we don't get to see you in person. So there were pros and cons for everything, but mainly I received very, very good remarks on pre-recording my content on the session. So this was one thing that I absolutely followed religiously in almost all my webinars. It helped me, it allows me to do good homework, it allows me to set my tone according to the moving content of the slide, it allows me to be very vigilant when I'm online live with the participants, sitting at the back, just moving my slides and doing different exercises. The other component that I incorporated in my online teaching and learning were warm-ups, because I really wanted participants to get fully engaged, fully energized. So I started some yoga, some physical games, some drawing, some polls, some fun games, and I'll take you through all the things that I've done with my online teaching and learning journey. So yoga, it sounds very exciting that, oh, we are engaging the participants physically here, but how do we do it? So during my Zoom sessions, what I used to do is I used to have a lot of breathing exercises, stretching exercises with the participants, neck exercises with the participants. So I would actually stop my session, or maybe at the start of the session, I would ask the participants to switch on their videos and do some breathing exercise. And I would give a very soothing voice to them, like, I would encourage everybody, all the participants, to just focus on what I'm saying, focus on the music. I would play music in the background. I would ask them to breathe in and breathe out, do some mindfulness exercises with them. I would just sometimes play music and ask them to imagine that they are going in a good place. Also, I would ask them to, get up and bring the object which are resonating to the color. How I would do this activity is I would put different color chits on my table, and I would keep picking up one chit and showing it to the participants that, okay, can you find something of the similar color and bring it and show it to me in the screen. All of this yoga, physical exercises really helped me to connect with the participants. So really, had given a lot of space to participants to unwind what was there in their mind. Especially in times of crisis, it's very, very important to have mindful participants and mindful people around you. And to promote mindfulness, it's quite significant to carry out some of these exercises even in your virtual sessions. Also, a lot of research talks about how drawing, painting, expressing your feelings through different symbols help you combat mental issues, mental health. If you're feeling sad, you're feeling anxious, drawing, singing, painting really helps. So what I used to do is I used to ask my participants that, they may draw a symbol and to connotate the concept that I've given them and show me. So I'll give a very concrete example here that the other day I was teaching school leaders about the quality of leadership. So I would ask them to just take a white paper, draw how would they symbolize educational leadership and show it in the screen. So this really helped the participants to, unwind, participants to express how they feel and also engage into something very creative. In some other Zoom sessions, I would ask them to draw their moods. I would ask them to draw the picture and guess. Sometimes I would, draw half of the picture and ask them to guess, show it in the screen and ask them to guess what is in the picture. Sometimes I would simply show them different pictures and ask them to draw some kind of things they see in this picture. So the example could be over here is if you have a picture of a festival of Eid or any festival like Christmas, you would just show the picture and ask the participants to draw 5 things they see in this picture. This way, you are also energizing them, you're connecting with them, although it's a virtual platform, but you're practically doing all these activities that we were doing in our in-person workshops or face-to-face workshops. Another interesting strategy I applied to my online Zoom learning sessions were virtual tours. So I would actually, take my participants, turn on my camera, take my participants to my garden to see how it looks. I would just simply one day go live on Facebook and show the weather, how weather looks like. Someday I would take them for a tour of how my vicinity looks like. Sometime I would just ask them that, this is the place I'm walking. Keep writing in the chat log what you're observing in the environment. So I would take a walk in my vicinity and the participants would write, we saw plants, we saw gate, we saw houses, we saw car. This enhances a lot of research and observation skills, and also it allows you and the participants to connect virtually. And these are fun exercises. Participants love all these exercises as such. Also, I use a lot of word games in my Zoom session. So I would give them an alphabet and would ask them that in their chat log they could write name, place, animal, thing. Alternatively, you could ask them to bring a paper and write play, name, place, animal, thing. Then I would show them an object and say that, can you describe them in 3 words and write it in the chat log. Similarly, I would sometimes ask them that, just write the 3 words that you think you should avoid. Describe your name and a quality of yours. I would then sometimes show them a verb, like, as if I'm clap. So I would ask them to just put ing at the end of it and type it. Sometimes I would give them a fat and then I would ask them to, write comparative and superlative of it. Sometimes I would play Zoom Scrabbles with them, whereby I would show different words and from words they have to create more words. This way, not only you are enhancing and building on the vocabulary, on participants' engagement, but you're also allowing opportunities for them to feel as if they're in a real classroom setting. They are all connected. They are all doing things. They are doing different activities. And this also allows them to think very creatively as to how they can use such exercises when they are teaching on an online teaching and learning platform. Sometimes I would play picture games with them. So I would just show them a picture and ask them to write what's in the picture. Sometimes I would show them two different pictures on screen and ask them to find the difference in two pictures. Sometimes I would show them a picture and ask them to locate what's wrong in the picture. Sometimes I would just display a picture story and ask them to complete the story. Sometimes I would just show them a picture and I would ask them to point out and locate what's missing in the picture. This way, participants get to have some variety in the teaching and learning as well. And since my community was totally like adults, like I was targeting parents, community leaders, education leaders, so they were really sort of enjoying these types of activities and they were really having good time during the Zoom sessions. So all through April until to date, I've had like wow moments. I always used to be, after every session, I used to be, wow, such a good session. Oh, wow, I really enjoyed. It had given me a lot of internal satisfaction that I was communicating, I was connecting with the audience, I was connecting with my set of community that I work with. My Facebook, group has immensely increased from just 500-700 participants to up till 3,000 participants with 20,000 K audience reach, and using different modalities like Facebook Live, Facebook groups, Zoom webinars. I was praised a lot at my work setting as well for conducting such public awareness, community awareness programs. I was praised by my beneficiaries who were parents, teachers, even children were sometimes watching my sessions with their parents. So, it was all wow, wow, Shelina, wow, kind of moments for me. I started slowly assuming myself that, oh, I finally got pro in social media advocacy. Came a point in my life where I started treating myself with overjoy that, wow, such a brilliant session. Oh, I had such good audience. I was so happy and everything was like, wow. So after all my wow moments, I thought, wow, I should scale up my social media advocacy. I should just take it to a global level. I should now start having global seminars, global webinars, engaging global experts. And I was very happy and really enjoying. And to date, I'm absolutely enjoying engaging different experts from the field, sometimes taking session to myself. And I'm truly enjoying my technology journey in teaching and learning. And every single day there are some or the other wow moments for me. But this is not the end of my story. I would like now all of the audience to kindly poll that what happened to my story afterwards. Was I Did I live happily ever after, or was I attacked by the zombies? So I would request the admin to open the poll and let's see how you predict my story. What happens next in my story? Let's see. Let's hear it from you.
Okay, so I got interesting results of 56% participant believed that I was attacked by zombies and 44% believe that, I lived happily ever after. Let's see what happened.
And yes, came a whoa moment for me. Ouch. So there was this amazing, gigantic global seminar I was to conduct a couple of weeks back, and then my account was hacked, or I don't know, the session was hacked. There was some inappropriate content displayed. And that moment, I just immediately collapsed. I said, oh my God, I just came down from an ideal world that I was living in where everything was just wow, wow, wow. And then suddenly I had to mitigate. I had to transfer my Zoom session to my live Facebook session. There was no PPT. The audience were feeling different and, kind of taken aback. And then the facilitator was there. We were in a very embarrassing situation. And that moment I realized, oh my God, cybersecurity is the biggest threat to all of us. Our data is exposed, our participation is exposed, our firewalls can crack sometimes. And this actually made me rethink my pro attitude. And I started learning a lot more about cybersecurity. Realized that if we conduct a webinar on Zoom, we must have an admin rights of doing every single thing, of controlling every element of that Zoom session by our own. No matter how big the organization is, we need to have, as facilitators, as teachers, need to have that complete control over our session to mitigate the risk at last moment. Second, I realized we always need to have plan B. If plan A doesn't work in times of technology, there should always be plan B, and plan B should be so quick that within few minutes you transfer your entire audience from one platform to the other. Third, I realized that, it's a blessing to work with an organization where structures are inbuilt. So you have this entire team working for you as well. So these are a few things that I really learned at that moment. And the fourth thing is also to have an in-depth understanding as to what cybersecurity is all about. And fifth is the total awareness of your participant. So a lot of vows and one woe session actually, had me reflect on the learning from my journey. And I've listed down a few learning that I would like to share with you. So the first thing I learned was never let your fear hold on to your creativity. Yes, after that incident happened, I was a bit scared. I got a bit fearful. I was a bit threatened by those hackers and stuff like this. But, I constantly had that, thing in my mind that, oh my God, it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. But no, never let your fear hold on to your creativity. I started the very next day, I started my sessions again with the same creative exercises, similar type of games. So never, even this applies to our life. We should never let our fear hold on to our creativity. Second is always be extra vigilant with technology and go an extra mile. So you need to plan your mitigation, you need to plan your alternatives, you need to plan different models that you want to adapt to if you have some problem that occurs during your sessions. Third is restricting audience versus audience open source, right? So it's very important to understand the right based approach of information and knowledge. Yes, it's a global community, it's global world, and everybody should have access to open source knowledge, but it's also important to sometimes restrict the audience. Give them some kind of pre-survey, give them some kind of, attach some minimal fee, attach some pre-survey questionnaire, attach some registration requirements so that you are not restricting, but you are limiting the kind of audience who are extremely interested to learn to be the part of your session. Fourth thing I learned was never consider yourself a pro, but rather always call yourself an emerging that, I'm emerging in technology, I'm learning, I'm adapting. The moment you think, you're a pro is the moment, I guess, God forbid, and you might collapse. The fifth thing is have your niche and let your work speak. So, I've had this very different type of a pattern to my sessions, to my PPTs, and people would know that this is my work. So started recognizing my work. They started appreciating the kind of, the format and the template that I was using. And all of us individually, it does not apply to any professional people, but it applies to everybody. All of us are blessed with an innate capacity to have our niche. That niche to us is given by the nature itself. So we need to build on our niche and contribute to the community at maximum. Also, I learned that the virtual community of support is very important. So I've had my IT teams with me, I've had my very good fellows, and I'm sure if I'm not too certain if Azra is watching, and Azra is somebody who I really went out my this fear with, and then she really helped me. My colleagues helped me to understand how I can take care of different things and how I can mitigate different risk. So, have those type of people and team around you. Alone, we cannot do anything. Even in life, it's very difficult to progress and success alone. So we need to have team of people who become our support. I had a very interesting learning as well that human connection is the most powerful of all. No matter how, kind of ditching or no matter how, the kind of consequences could take over your life. But if you're connected to the community, and here I am so grateful and I'm so thankful to each of the member of my ECD community, each of those participants who were with me in the training, each of my peers, each of my fellow, each of that person who, contributes in my cause, and everybody who sees my audience. I really owe a big thank you to all of them, to always showing their support to me, to always keeping in touch with me, to always making me feel so connected to them. And that is what the real power is. We all as human, we are connected. Last thing but not the least, but human task force can never be replaced by technology. But it's as important as breathing these days. I've realized that this was only technology who got us connected. And then technology has the power in times of today, but nothing on the earth can replace human task force. So just a take-home message, technology is technology. Technology doesn't have a, it is not good or bad. Technologies are simply tools, tools that support human beings to grow further, connect further. So everybody stay safe, stay connected, stay healthy, take care of yourself, and practice all the SOPs. And thank you so much for attending this course. I would request everyone to please write in the chat box as to how you felt about today's workshop, this short webinar. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.